I still think we have the potential for a super cycle. A lot of people got, it's funny, as soon as the market dips one direction, people get really bearish and they're like, oh, what an absurd idea called a super cycle. And I'm like, well, this looks like 2013. And that I would say, 2013 applied to now would be my definition of a super cycle, like a mega cycle, like a super cycle in terms of like either a longer bull run than we expected or a much more intense bull run than we expected. And, if we go 10x from here, we're looking at like $400,000 of Bitcoin. That's what happened in 2013. It went from $100 to $1,200, even 12x. So I would say that kind of puts us squarely in sort of super cycle territory, because at $400,000 of Bitcoin, I mean, that's basically flipping in gold.
Dan is currently Director of Growth Marketing at Kraken. His former company, Interchange, a portfolio reconciliation tool for crypto institutional traders, was acquired by Kraken in August 2019. Prior to that, he was at Uber on rider growth and global data. Before Uber, Dan built some of the most popular early crypto products, including ChangeTip, acquired by AirBnB, and ZeroBlock, acquired by Blockchain.com in the second ever all-Bitcoin acquisition. He was part of the original 2013 crypto meetup group in San Francisco, which was comprised with the founders of Kraken, Coinbase, Litecoin, and others. Make sure to stick to the end to find out more about Dan and Bitcoin and what his predictions are for the future of Bitcoin.
Yeah, so this is my third cycle. I was there in 2013, 2017, and 2021. This feels like 2013. We had a big bull run happen in the early part of the year. Around March, April, May, things kind of come down a little bit. We have a little bit of a retrace. Things go sideways. And I think that's the most torturous part of these sort of cycles, is the sideways action. Is it a bear market? Is it a bull run? No one knows, and no one truly knows. I can't predict the future, and I don't want to pretend that I can. But this does feel like 2013, where we've got that intense part in the beginning, sideways chop action, and then later in the year, we have a second wave. So it feels like that. I think, structurally, we've got all the things in place for a bull run. If you look at Will Clemente, if you look at Willy Woo's on-chain data, everything looks super healthy there and more indicative of a bull run. When we look at price action, this would be a very, very mild bull run if it topped out at 65K. So I think there's a lot more room to run there. And then on the macro side, like structurally, we've got every single institutional player in the space going, in the mainstream financial world going, oh, we're thinking about buying some Bitcoin. I mean, that's incredible, right? So I think 65 is that first mini peak on a bigger bull run this year. Now, again, this is my opinion. I have no idea what the price is going to do. I have staked a gigantic portion of my net worth on Bitcoin. So if it doesn't work out, I'm certainly on the other, I certainly will feel it. But all of the signs point to that the bull run isn't over, that we should see another, sometime in the fall or winter, another big bull run again. Yeah, 2013 was really special. So that was my first bull run, and it went from $10 to $260 in March 2013, back down to 100, sideways chopped. Then around October, November, went from 100 to 1200, and by the end of December. What was unique about that one is there's so many structural problems. So Silk Road got shut down in October. People forget that. I mean, that was a big deal. Like, we thought, what if that was the only demand for Bitcoin? We didn't know. There wasn't on-chain analysis. There were no blogs, there were no YouTube channels talking about on-chain data at all. So we weren't sure, like, oh man, will demand come back? Mt. Gox got shut down too a couple times. It had its Dwala accounts frozen in the US, and I think that was like July, August. And then by February 14, I think they had like fully shut down or like halted withdrawals completely. There was a lot of structural problems. I mean, Mt. Gox was like this giant, they were 90% of trading volume, and they were super rickety, and we're just lucky exchange companies like Coinbase didn't get trapped in that. Coinbase wasn't an exchange back then. They were just a brokerage. They created GDAX, remember? And then GDAX became Coinbase Pro. People forget that like Coinbase wasn't always an exchange. They were sourcing coins from Bitstamp, fortunately. But what if they had been sourcing coins from Gox? Like, we didn't know that either. I don't think they publicized that. So Gox was a huge structural problem. We had Silk Road getting shut down. That shut down a lot of demand. We weren't sure if our doors were going to get kicked in. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of regulatory clearance in terms of like what we were allowed to do. Now, of course, the Bitcoin network doesn't care. We still weren't sure, being public faces of this new movement, if we were going to have our doors kicked in and then be like, okay, well, we're going to clamp down on this. We understand what Bitcoin is, and we think it's a threat. So that was very much the vibe in 13. It was like very like Wild West. 2017, in early 17 is when I think Bitcoin broke. I think that's when Bitcoin broke 1,000. Yeah, I think that's when Bitcoin broke 1,000. Was like January 17. And then that year was just kind of a continuous surge with some little drawdowns. And of course, that one was you've had the huge moment of like ICOs being the narrative. I mean, I was in Silicon Valley, and literally the word ICO was being whispered every single place you went to, everywhere. And people were inserting ICOs and tokens into everything. I worked at Uber at the time, and we put together a blockchain strike force team to talk about how blockchain technology could be implemented at Uber. And we basically this was in 17, and we basically walked away from it going, we don't think it's useful for Uber at all. But people were just like, can we put a blockchain on it, was the vibe then. And there was just so much froth with all of the tokens that it was just insane, right? I mean, it was kind of mania, I would say. Like the vibe was just mania because there's so many coins, 100xing, 1000xing, that it was just mania, what I would say would be the vibe. 2021, I think, is more serious, like kind of a serious tone to it, mixed with a little bit of absurdity as well. Serious because now it's finally mainstream. You've got one of the wealthiest people in the world, Elon Musk, who's into it. You've got his companies. You've got other big billionaires and mainstream investors and hedge funds and insurance companies and some sovereigns, so Venezuela talking about adopting Bitcoin. Bitcoin's entered the final arena, the biggest game. And so things are a little bit more serious in terms of the stakes and in terms of like the narrative. I would say Bitcoin, like content wise, like there wasn't a lot of content before 2017. Like you've got myself and many others and y'all who have great YouTube channels and podcasts and long form content. And there's even like documentaries now. There really wasn't much of that before 2017. It was kind of a lonely existence when you were a Bitcoin hodler. Like I went to the halving party at BitGo down, not San Mateo, I think down in Palo Alto for 2016 halving. There's like 15 of us. It wasn't like as big of a celebration like 2020, where like the halving then was a big deal. There was, even websites dedicated. There wasn't even like a website for the halving back in 16. Like, I don't remember one. I'm sure there was one, but I don't remember one. So 2021, it's big. Bitcoin is big. There's hundreds of millions of people that use it. At the same time, there's the absurdity of the market as well, which I thought was going to go away in the 2021 cycle, but I was very, very wrong, which was in Dogecoin or something, right? Like, retail sentiment to speculate on different assets was more than I ever expected. So yeah, I would say that was probably the more surprising thing, but crypto is now mainstream. Bitcoin is now mainstream. And so I think that's the very distinct difference between the last 17 bull run and this one. Well, if we repeat 2013, we could see Bitcoin hitting between $300,000 and $400,000 a Bitcoin. Now, history usually rhymes, it doesn't repeat itself, so it's probably not going to be exactly that. But if it did, that would be my best price point. So my price point, I would say that I think it's going to land between is probably between 1 and 300,000. But if we match 13 again, it could be 300 to 400,000.
So, what do you think? What will happen next with Bitcoin? Will it go 10 times or even 100 times in the next coming years? Tell us in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching till the end. If you want to watch more videos like this one, give us a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more interesting videos. Till next time.